All right, guys, we are back again. Dynamic Man Podcast, episode 21. And today we are going to be talking about polarity and specifically why lack of polarity is killing love. So I have my last day in Poland. I have reversed the setup that I have here because I was told that I was not looking trustworthy by having so much darkness on my face. So I don't have the proper lighting set up here. To be honest, I don't even really know that I have a proper lighting setup in the States, but this is better. I can even see it's clearer, although you got this like shade on this side of the face. Maybe this is better. Maybe if I don't want to show like the bedroom mess though, you know what I mean? So uh we're gonna change up the angle a little bit here. At any rate, this is a very important topic, and I'm going to try to keep it focused to some of the, or connected at least to some of the recent conversations going on on X as usual. But for the moment, I want you guys, if you guys are watching, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know that you guys are tuning in. Let me know what you guys think. Today's topic is a really, really important one, and it's going to build a little bit on the last Dynamic Man podcast that we had. So relationships, intimacy, whatever, men and women have fallen in love with each other primarily because of what I call the three pillars of attraction, right? So, three pillars of attraction, for those of you who don't know, by the way, if you want to read my book, you can get it on Amazon as like an electronic download, but you can also get it for free as a PDF if you join my list, patstedman.com/opt-in. You get a free copy of the book. You also get exclusive content 3 times per week. Only goes on my email list until like a year later I put it on my blog. Okay, so there's the pitch for my email list and for my book. But we're talking about the content of my book, The Three Pillars of Attraction, and that these categories more or less make up what attraction is. And they're three pillars, but you can also view them as sort of concentric circles. So you have on the outer layer, you have pre-selection. Pre-selection is what I call passive value. And it's what people are attracted to when they first see you. So for a man, that's going to be your looks, right? And that's going to be part of your physical size. It's going to be part of your, fat content, how defined you are. It's going to be your height, right? And it's going to be your status. It's going to be your fame. And we can break status into, how many people know you, but also what your relationship to other people is. So are you more of a leader, or are you more just know people? They're both beneficial, but slightly different ways. The money you have, right? That's going to factor into it. And also the fame, right? Which is a little bit different than status, because even though they connect with each other, because fame can be very much, it's not personal. Status is like you are known by people, whereas fame is people know of you. So you may not, within a social setting, really have, your status is built over time. Your fame could be just because you have a talent. It's not anything personal. Okay. So we call it passive value because pre-selection, people are attracted to you before they even interact with you. If they know these things about you, they're interested in you to some extent, right? And then you have active value, which is persona, which includes game, and it includes social skills, social awareness, like charisma, charm, right? And it also includes, I would say, courtship behavior, sexual behavior, polarity, right? And then you have personality. Personality being, who you are, your soul, your level of consciousness. And so you can say in personality, you have who you are innately, but then you also have in personality the sort of level of your development spiritually, right? Psycho-spiritually. Okay. So how does all this stuff play out when it comes to attraction, when it comes to courtship, why people are coming together in general? I'll explain it to you. Today, relationships are mostly being formed from pre-selection and personality. Okay? That is most of how it's happening today. People are looking at what you have. Is this guy attractive physically? Does he have status? Is he important? And also, do we click on a personal level? That's a lot of what is going on here between men and women. The guys who are tending to do better with women are the guys who have started to focus on the persona aspect of it, the game, right? To learn how things work. Now, the negative is that a lot of dating today, there are a lot of games within dating. I distinguish from game. But persona as a whole, this pillar of attraction, is collapsing because remember, persona is really how you interact with other people. So most women don't have game today. They used to. They don't have game today. And people don't have social skills. They're socially anxious, socially awkward. They don't know how to behave in groups. But the big thing here, this is the big thing, and this is what I want to talk about on the show, is a lack of polarity. Polarity is such an anchor. It's such an anchor to attraction, and it is almost completely gone in Western dating culture. It's a total fucking shit show. Total shit show with polarity. Okay? And men and women are both responsible in their own way for this. I mean, look, feminism was the acute cause of it. But feminism is also a shit test that men failed. So who's really responsible for it? We're going to talk about how there can be some integration of this stuff. But the bottom line is polarity is broken. It's broken in dating today. And it has really profound consequences down in the personality section of things, which is why you're starting to see more and more of dating become more and more superficial. Because here's the thing. Even though polarity, which by the way, for people who don't understand exactly what I'm talking about, polarity is the masculine feminine dynamic. It's the dance between the masculine and the feminine. In every relationship, there needs to be a feminine pole and there needs to be a masculine pole. If there is not a feminine and masculine pole between a man and a woman, then you are going to have chaos in the interaction between the man and the woman. You are going to have frustration. You are going to have lack of desire. You're going to have lack of magnetism, literally lack of magnetism. So to explain this a little bit more, the reason a lot of people don't fully realize just how bad the polarity situation is because to some extent, we naturally do it. Even in this very politically correct era, we naturally default into a polarization while dating somebody. That's how innate it is, right? That even all the programming and our normal behavior gets a little bit abrogated with it. You are never going to see men more masculine and women more feminine than you will in those first few months of dating. Because they're naturally trying to put it on because they know on some level it's how things are supposed to be, right? And the irony, of course, is that so we like the person, so we do this stuff. And then it makes it so that people get together. They get together and a relationship forms sometimes. And we feel good with the person. But it's not how we've been operating on a regular basis in our lives. A lot of times, why we even anchor into the person to begin with, it's not because that polarity is doing it. The polarity helps to move an initial attraction to a relationship. But the polarity is rarely today what actually causes the man and the woman to get together in the first place. That's usually some combination of the pre-selection elements, physical attraction, right? Status, combined with the personalities clicking. The personalities click, and then the two individuals start to act more feminine and masculine in order to keep the other person interested. But then later on, it starts to unravel, right? And this is an issue. In the past, you can say pre-romantic era, you had pre-selection, so the man's resources, etc., and persona, the sort of masculine feminine dynamic. That was enough for people to get together, basically. And the personality aspect, the personal connection, was neglected in a lot of situations. But now there's almost like too much of a focus on, the personality. We need to have the personality click together, and they ignore the persona. They ignore this polarization. And it's a problem, and it's also self-defeating, because in the long term, if you are a masculine man, and if the woman is a feminine woman, which is like 90% of the time, right? If this is the case, you actually can't have a healthy personality unless the polarity in a relationship is correct. So I'm going to repeat this because I know that I'm jumping around, I'm talking about different things. You cannot have a healthy sense of self and therefore a healthy relationship if the polarity, if your core polarity is not able to be expressed in the relationship. And I'm going to explain why. If you're a masculine man, but your woman is acting masculine, you are going to feel depolarized in the relationship. You're going to feel like less of a man. And when you feel like less of a man, you feel like less of a valuable person if you are a man, right? So we can talk about, well, our personalities clicked, and that's great. Personality connection, it's super mysterious. Maybe it's astrological, maybe it's soul-based, whatever it is. Yes, we do click with some people. We click with them. But if you are with a woman who you click with, but she is emasculating you because she doesn't understand how to polarize correctly, you are going to feel worse in the relationship. Whereas you could arguably be with a woman who you didn't click with as much, but if she was so feminine that she made you feel like a man all the time, you would start to fall in love with her. And I think, to be honest, guys, all right, what I'm saying here, I think, is actually quite profound. But I think one of the major reasons it is so hard for people today to find someone to be with, it's not just that you have broken down social structures and it's harder to meet people in a natural, healthy way, whatever. It's that in the past, when men were masculine and women were feminine, there was all, like, if you took that natural polarity, which is the basis of good game, right? If you took that natural polarity and you took being in decent shape and having a little bit of your shit together, that was enough. That was absolutely enough for people to be into each other. So I think it was a lot easier. It didn't feel like settling for people because they would be with a man who made them feel like a woman, and the guys would be with a woman who made them feel like a man. You didn't have to have this like amazing personality connection. You didn't have to have it because the polarity was compensating for so much of it. Now, that's not for me to say. I'm not trying to say that, the personality connection doesn't matter, but I think we are so fucked up romantically that we are putting so much extra weight on this personality element of things to make a relationship work. Like, you just have to have amazing chemistry and compatibility with someone. You got to have, like, your personality's got to mesh really well. You guys got to be in the same social status, strata rather, the same values, because this stuff all has to compensate for the fact that you guys are not sexually connecting. The polarity is not there. And so they have to like be already really good friends and break through these difficulties, these resentments that come up. So there's a really big burden on, I think, an excessive burden on this sort of like personality compatibility to compensate for the lack of polarity in a relationship today. So I want to talk about a little bit more about this stuff, and I want to show some tweets now, because we're seeing a lot about how this is happening in practice. Okay? Because there's a demographic of women in particular, this older demographic of women, that is really having a hard time finding guys and being with guys. So American women have never been this resigned to staying single. The challenges of finding a romantic partner have been made more complicated by a growing divide in education and career prospects between men and women. And then, I don't know this account, Cartoons Hater, I keep seeing stuff about how highly educated or ambitious women are intimidating to men, and it just isn't true. I've done like 4 studies on this, and every time men view it as neutral or positive. The issue with these women is almost always something else. Okay? This is that something else. Men are only intimidated in the sense that these women mean when, and I say in the sense that these women mean, because men can be intimidated by a beautiful woman. Okay? But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the feminist version of intimidation. Like, they are intimidated by her, how really masculine she is, to be honest, is what they're saying. They won't want to put it in those terms, but that's what they're saying. This is only the case when the woman is substantially more powerful or makes more money than them. Makes a lot more money is what I'm trying to say. Makes substantially more money than them. Generally, the reason guys aren't attracted is much more simple. Ambitious women tend to have no idea how to be submissive in a romantic context and try to compete with the men they're interested in, which is unsexy and exhausting. And educated women, meanwhile, suffer from either the midwit credential brain, where their degree makes them believe they are so impressive they can be unjustifiably picky, or B, they are truly brilliant, but like most intelligent people are unable to be in their body and come across spacey, neurotic, awkward. Like most cope from demographics who struggle with the opposite sex, these women are trying to rationalize away responsibility for their problems. It's a shame, because brains and fire are attractive in women, but not if they come at the cost of no longer acting like a woman. Okay? This idea of acting like a woman. So I got some pushback from somebody about this, about how like, oh no, like a stronger man is going to be with a stronger woman. So, you're just admitting that you're not really a man if you can't handle blah, 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 this super impressive woman. I understand what this person is saying. Okay. I understand it. I understand what he's getting at, in the sense that you rise to your level. So a woman who has the capacity to be really impressive because she's so intelligent, she's so capable, she is going to inevitably end up with a very intelligent and capable man. But these are kind of 2 different things. There might be some overlap, but when you're talking about women who are really dominant, like when we're talking about the ambitious woman, we're talking about the polarization dynamic. And I'll tell you that really masculine, successful guys do not like being with women who are super aggressive and domineering and bossy. It's really unattractive. They might end up dating one for a little bit incidentally, because they're connecting on some sort of like similarity basis, especially if, she's physically attractive, but the energy isn't good. I dated one of these women before, and the sexual polarity was so bad, because every single bit of the interaction, every bit of it all the way through, right, was a competition to some degree. And this is my response to this guy. Strong women are great. I've endorsed them often, but a strong woman and a masculinized, dominant woman are not the same thing. The more a woman defers into a cherished role in a relationship, the more assertive her man becomes. Conversely, the more she argues with him or asserts her own opinion over his, the less assertive he gets. This is by necessity because it's the nature of polarity. You can't overwrite this law with any feel-good notions of equality. Queens are strong and powerful, but they have a different kind of power and quality of energy than kings. They are beacons of virtue and light who guide and influence men to better and higher action. They become muses, proxies for divine favor, and so men will do anything for them. Modern women need to rediscover this and realize what they gain from surrendering rather than trying to be co-kings, which they largely suck at. We need more Donald and Melania Trumps and less Bill and Hillary Clintons. Bill and Hillary Clinton are a power couple, okay? That's what happens when you marry a woman who is in her masculine. You see this total lack of polarity. They may have some deep friendship, if you want to be charitable. Bill and Hillary may have some deep friendship with each other in some shared mission, but they are not sexually polarized remotely to each other. They're not. They're not. Whereas Donald Trump and Melania, you obviously can see it. You can see she's such a queen and he's such a king, and you can feel the difference in energy that they give off. But would anybody ever say that Melania is weak? She doesn't give off that energy whatsoever. She gives us a very, very imperious and intimidating energy, but it's not the same kind of energy as Trump. Trump is intimidating, but in a much different manner, in a much more aggressive, masculine manner. Whereas Melania is intimidating because you feel like she is almost this, she has understood so much how to be like a beacon that everybody almost wants to make sure they act a certain way around because of her quiet elegance. Melania will have people wanting to do things for her all the time. She will have men and even women for that matter wanting to do things for her, wanting to gain her favor because she really knows how to be feminine. She really understands it on such a deep level. A lot of women need to understand this today. They don't get this anymore. The result of lack of polarization between men and women is that when a man is depolarized, a masculine man is depolarized, he is going to start to feel passive, dissipated. He's going to start to become an escapist. Because the thing is, men grow from the responsibility that they carry. So when they have women saying, I want, leaving it to them to figure out, they rise to the occasion. A lot of women don't want to give men the chance to do this because they're stuck in their ego. They need to be the one who has the winning idea. They need to be the one who saves the day. It's very unsexy for a guy to be around a woman who wants to be the center of attention. This is why these like modern, fairy tales are really stupid. They're not archetypally correct. They're inversions of polarity, where it's like the guy's like a doofus and he's looking at the woman. Oh, you got it. You know what to do. Oh, go. Wow, you're so smart. You figured this out. It's a total inversion. I'll give you a great example of this. A movie that was total trash, like dog shit trash. Twisters. Okay, I loved Twister as a kid. I absolutely loved that movie. It's a great movie. When I was in prison, I saw Twisters came out. And I was like, damn, I got to see that. So I watched it on the plane coming over to Europe. And it was trash. And you know why it was trash? It was trash because the entire film was like jerking off this woman's ego. That's the entire film. The entire purpose of the film. It's like this girl is just having every guy interested in her. And she could be as avoidant and evasive as possible, right? Like, she makes a mistake, her man dies, and then she feels guilty, the other guy who was in that group was into her. Then this like competitor was into her, and she gets to string them along as she wants to string them along, and everyone's obsessed with her idea, and everyone wants her idea to be the thing that gets done. But even in the end, they can't be the ones who execute it. She has to be the one who executes it. It was like a total fucking. I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is absolute nonsense. It's nonsense. It's not how it works in real life. In real life, I'm going to give you an example of this. You know, I'm a human. We fall out of polarity, right? A while ago, I asked my wife if she wanted a coffee. We were doing some errands. I said, "You want a coffee?" And she said, "Yeah." So I went to go. I was gonna go. Went to go get her the coffee, and she's like, "Oh, you should go to this place." She was like trying to micromanage where I go, and I told her, I said, "I didn't ask you where to go. I can figure out where to get a coffee. I just asked if you wanted one so I could get one for you." And she like realized it. And this may seem like, oh wow, you're so controlling. It's not about that. It's about the nature of the polarity and the dynamic. My wife is very smart. She's very capable. She has great ideas. And there are certain contexts where I'm very appreciative that I have someone who is so competent and capable and who has great judgment, blah, blah, blah. But from a romantic dynamic, I don't want that all the time. When I'm trying to create a polarized dynamic, I don't want that, right? And she doesn't want it either, because what she wants is to be cherished. She wants to be taken care of, right? This is what a feminine woman wants. But a lot of women have a hard time with the fact that you cannot be cherished. You cannot have a guy take care of you if you tell the guy how to take care of her. Because then what happens is you have the woman ends up just directing the guy to do things. And that is not cool or fun for the guy. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. The guy doesn't want to do things for you because men, masculine guys, don't want to be ordered around. To the extent a man will accept being ordered around, he will accept it from a man who he views as a superior in the hierarchy. Otherwise, like, a masculine man does not want to get ordered around by a woman. And women get really frustrated because, like, he just tunes me out, he doesn't listen to me. How about you shut the fuck up? How about you stop telling him what to do and give him space to figure it out? At best, as a woman, you go in and you say that this is something that you'd like, and then leave a space and let him do it. That's like as much as you can nudge him along. But this whole like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. She understood that. She understood. Like, I can figure out where to get you coffee. I was just asking if you wanted one. You want one? Cool. I'm going to get you one. So this plays in like the whole bigger schematic of a relationship. Because I'll tell you, feminine women want to be cherished, right? They want to be cared for. But when they cannot let go of control, they cannot be cherished. And when they cannot let go of control, you know what happens? Is they get angry and stressed out. So you see today, you see all these women who are absolutely losing their minds, right? Literally losing their minds, like on all sorts of antidepressant medication. It's because no one's caring for them. They're a strong, independent woman who can take care of themselves. Actually, emotionally, they can. They might be able to pay the bills for themselves, but emotionally, they feel like crap because the core part of their being, the core part of their confidence is to be feminine and to be cherished. And so since they're not being cherished, they can't feel good about themselves. They can't feel like they are a loved woman because they're not. Just in the same way that a man who doesn't feel respected can't feel good about himself. This goes into the powerlessness, right? Guys who feel powerless have self-esteem issues. Lack of power is correlated to low male self-esteem. It's because power is respected. So if you're able to do things, if you are able to cherish others because you have power, the only way you can cherish others is if you have power and authority. It's the only way. So women get to be taken care of if they can surrender control to a man, and men get to feel valuable if they get to care for other people. That's why when you see all these guys who are like, I'm opting out, I'm not doing anything, I'm just going to go be an incel, I'm just going to go beat my dick all day because, like you guys, of course you have terrible self-esteem because you didn't take on any responsibility. And that's why even if you get some like stupid woman and you get divorced, you're going to feel like more of a man simply because you had kids, because kids are more responsibility to take care of. That's why this whole thing, and look, again, you have your own choices in life. I'm not here to be that guy, but if you're afraid of having kids because you're like, well, it's going to be a lot of responsibility. No fucking kidding. It's going to be a lot of responsibility. You should be welcoming that. Where can you take on more responsibility? If you're really a man, if you're really masculine, you should be looking to take on more responsibility. Now, I understand you don't want to take on responsibility without authority. I get that. I understand the distinction here. But with kids, you are going to have at least 50% authority in most cases, right? The point here is that you want to look for responsibility. You want to look for ways to take on burdens, because taking on burdens is how you grow and how you feel more like a man. You're never going to feel like you have any authority if you don't take on responsibility. Otherwise, you might as well just be some kind of woman, right? Who thinks, well, what I say should matter. What I say should matter. No. You earn what you're saying, what you say mattering. You earn it. I'm going to respond to a couple of comments here. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Dark Clouds. Appreciate that. So, Jackson, there comes a time when a man has to decide whether to become a man or to stay a boy. Having kids is always a key indicator. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you're taking care of your kids, then you're taking on responsibility. That's basically it. You're becoming more of a man. That's why like men don't have respect for men who abandon their kids. No man has respect for another man who abandons their kids. Okay. I know women are the ones who tend to get bent out of shape about it because they have to take on the burden, but other men don't respect other men who abandon their kids because it shows that that guy isn't really a man. He's a man child. Okay. He's maybe able to get girls and have kids with them, but you're not a man that we would ever consider to be in the hierarchy because you've shown that you can't take on responsibility. You're self-centered. So this is the big thing that women, if they want to be cared for, they want to be loved, they have to give up. They have to give up this control. And I'm telling you, when women give up this control, like all this anger and this attitude you see from women, it's because they're in control. They're trying to control things. And women are not good at controlling things. Feminine energy is not an energy that's controlled. It's a flowing energy. It's an expansive energy. It's a wave, right? The masculine is much more linear and direct. It's much more about, this is my territory, this is not my territory. It's concrete. The feminine energy isn't like that. So when you try to make women have to take concrete positions and hold on to stuff, it works against their natural system. It's very important. You just got to get over it. You got to get over, like guys got to get over the fact that people don't care about your feelings. They don't care about it. But they'll respect you for what you do. Right? So if you focus on being respected for what you do, you're going to feel better about yourself rather than chasing this feeling, well, does anybody care about me? Same thing with women in reverse. No one cares about your ideas. You may have some really good ideas. And let me be clear. It's not to say that it's not that you can't ever share your ideas or whatever in a playful context. But if you're talking about trying to trying to lead, trying to step over the guy. I understand why you might be frustrated about letting him lead, right? Because maybe you really feel like your idea matters. Okay, fair enough. Except the consequence of that, though, is that he's not going to want to take care of you. So if you want him to care about you, if you want him to take your feelings into consideration and you want to relax, you're going to have to allow the sharing of your ideas to be a lot more playful. And I love reading old literature, right? I was reading Dostoevsky Demons. Great book. Dostoevsky's always good. And you just see it so much more clearly how the women used to be, how the men used to be. Oh man, it's just like how natural the polarity was for them back then. And it's gone now. The last thing I'm going to add, because we're going to wrap this show up, I got a call in a couple minutes. So I want to tackle this comment that Jackson made because of how relevant it is. I find a lot of women with more masculine attitude are often physically attractive, maybe because they can get away with it, whereas less attractive women have to be more submissive to attract men. In my opinion, it's more, the logic flows more the opposite direction. And what I mean by that is masculine women will tend to really focus on how they look physically because they know that their energy, it's how they feel more like a woman. Their behavior doesn't make them feel like a woman and the reactions that they get from people. So they have to physically look at themselves and say, I'm hot, I'm desirable. It's actually a way to compensate for their inability to draw in men through feminine energy. They have to draw him in through physical looks. That's like a Tomi Lahren, right? A lot of like any blonde Fox News commentator, basically. So whereas women who are much more just very naturally feminine, femininity can have a softness to it. Like the whole bodybuilding fit chick thing is a little masculine. I'm not saying that it's all bad. I think it's great that women are fit and that they're toned and it's healthy for them, right? But a lot of people have commented, and I think they're right, like a much more natural woman's workout is going to be like Pilates or yoga, something light, right? And there's arguments to be made about how this works with the cycle. There's also women who are really good at planning different workouts for the cycle. So I'm not trying to like say if you do a certain kind of exercise, you're not a woman or whatever, but it just is a point, right? That feminine energy is softer, and feminine women tend to physically feel softer. So, all right, guys. Well, it's a good show. Thanks for jumping on, and I will see you on the next Dynamic Man podcast. Take care, gentlemen.